interesting that a lot of people are talking about is Alec's reaction to a lot of things, how he was supposedly crying / not crying throughout the trial and then stone cold for the sentencing. A lot of people are like, oh, where are them tears now, Alec?
Oh, dry.
That's how I feel.
What do you think about the way he acted through this trial and through sentencing?
It's bullshit.
The trial was fake, I feel.
Yeah.
But sentencing, I don't ever fault anyone for not crying, and I think because I'm not a crier, and we had a trial that got all the way to the not guilty, and I was the only one not crying. But I think that moment and in other trials, when even when you're standing at that table, not even as the defendant, the emotions when they become so overwhelming for me, I don't have a reaction, and so I don't blame. Like I never blame or look at any defendant for their response to that moment, because it's not. The emotions in that moment are not going to tell you whether they're guilty or not guilty, or they're sad or they're not sad, because that is just like the most overwhelming moment, even as a lawyer sitting next to them.
It's like shock.
So I can't imagine being that person.
I did think that there would have been a reaction based on his way that he responded on the stand. But I do agree with Sarah. But I also, like, I just tell people it's like the trauma that's happened from practicing law and like having to shut down your emotions. It just is harder for me to, it's just really hard for me to cry.
I can understand that.
Even in moments when I do. But when I do, it is so uncontrollable that I can't stop it. It's like the floodgates.
Maybe that's why, because we're trained like don't cry in court.
Yeah.
So like we will not, doesn't matter what is happening in court. I'm not going to cry in court.
Do they say that? Huh?
She breaks the rule all the time.
Someone
cry. I've never seen her not break
at my old job, someone snuck a pin, pins, that said there's no crying in court. I was like, I ain't never cried in here, but dang. Like, I don't even know who ever put it on my desk.
I want to.
She breaks that rule.
A plea. I cried.
Every time we're in court.
I'm a crier, okay? I had big feelings about everything, okay, guys? And I used to I used to fight it. And then I just realized that's like my superpower, and I just lean into it now. I mean, I'm not a puddle on the floor. I mean, I have been a puddle on the floor. I have literally been laying on the floor waiting on a jury to come back sobbing. But, for me, I had a case where I was filling in and ended up going to a plea. And I didn't even know these people. I was sobbing like a baby, watching a bunch of grown men cry. I was crying. It was I was a mess. I'm crying about everything.
Yeah. Well, you feel deeply, and that was something that maybe you wanted to hide before, but now you're like, there's nothing wrong with feeling deeply.
I have extreme empathy, and watching, it's like when I did that plea where I was just subbing in, and then, everything kind of went to crazy, and it went to a plea, and these grown men are having to, and they're just crying, but I'm also looking at the victim's family. It's just because my heart hurts for everybody, because in this instance, like, everybody's life is forever changed.
I feel like
for one bad choice. That family doesn't have a kid anymore. Their little girl is gone. This man's whole life is gone. Like, everybody's whole, and then his mom sitting there, and it's like the combination of all of it.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot.
You, my son reminds me of you. That's how he is.
He's a little love muffin.
He is so empathetic that he just feels everything. And so when he was in the hospital, he's like crying, and he would not tell the nurse why. And I'm like, baby, why is it? And he's like, there's a baby crying down the hall.
Sweet boy.
And I said, hey guys, can we close the door?
Gonna put on some white noise.
He just
thought of a baby being in the hospital with him.
Hurting. Yes, he was like, I'm not
what is a baby doing here?
There's a baby down there crying. You guys haven't gone down there.
What is he doing here?
You know what, though? Not to get off topic, but I understand that. I relate to that, because every time I have to take my kids to the doctor or go get shots or something, I'm like, this place is a torture chamber. It's like babies crying everywhere, and I'm like, oh. So I can relate to that.
I get crying babies on planes. I'm like, give me the baby.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
I do.
What are you doing about baby? So I appreciate that. But I try and stay. I'm a very empathetic person, but I'm also someone in control of my emotions too. So I'm like both. I'm like, I'm both on different occasions, but I have to shield myself from knowing about a lot of things in the world because I don't watch the news. I try not to learn too much about these Carolina Justice Awards, but just because I take it home. I take it home and I can't sleep, and I'm like, I have to be. If you're a very empathetic person, you have to be careful with what you let in your psyche. You know. So, but I love that you do what you do, Amy, and you are like that because it does. It's a different kind of mold, and I think when I was watching this trial, I was so annoyed with the attorneys a lot of times because I remember I asked you guys last time, should they be likable? Should they not be likable? And you said, yeah, they should be likable. And I feel like sometimes I was not a jury member, but I feel like sometimes when you watch stuff like that, you almost make your opinion based on the character of
you feel like they're credible
the attorney. Yeah, you're like, are you trying to cheat me? Are you like being a car salesman right now, or are you? Do you feel bad about this? And are you a good person at heart? Yeah. Can I respect you? And I feel like the attorney really sets the tone for a lot of how you feel in the moment of the trial and everything too.
I think it 100% matters.
Yeah.
It's like the first thing they teach you when you go to trial school.
And I think that I try to always tell people when it comes to trial and juries is why do we expect anything different of the jury than what we do in a regular day? Mm-hmm. And the reality of that is we make split decisions about people that we interact with and we meet on a daily basis. You look at them, you talk to them, and you make judgments, whether you mean to or you don't.
Yeah,
right?
subconsciously.
About whether someone's genuine and isn't genuine, and so it's the same at trial. It's the same. A juror's going to look at the attorney and make a decision about whether this attorney is being straight with them versus where they're not, whether they can believe them, whether the client is believable, whether he looks remorseful or doesn't, whether he is sitting over there being innocent. And the same way is when we're presenting evidence to them, they should be natural reactions. Like when we're trying to get them to understand things, think of it as if you were a person trying to understand it. So it's nothing wrong with that. It's exactly
perception is everything, and people are watching you when you don't even know from the moment you walk in the door. So how you hold yourself, how you react with your client, how you interact with your client, how you interact with other attorneys, those things matter because that lends to credibility. If I'm rude and disrespectful to the attorney on the other side, then I lose credibility with that jury, and nothing is worth losing that. And authenticity matters because I always say, a jury can, and I think the Murdaugh case is the best example of that a jury can sense bullshit from a mile away, like what is authentic and what is not and genuine. And when I saw that, the jury members that spoke on Good Morning America and I think one of them, the little young guy, I just loved him. But when they talked about how he was not crying, how it was contrived, there was not a tear. It was a lot of snot maybe, but not a tear. They know. You know what I mean? They knew it. And that's what we want from jury.
When life gets ugly.